Shambho, Kashi Vishwanath Gange, Hara Hara Mahadeva Shambho, Kashi Vishwanath Gange, Hara Hara Mahadeva Shambho, Hara Hara Mahadeva Shambho, Hara Hara Mahadeva Shambho, Kashi Vishwanath Gange, Hara Hara Mahadeva Shambho, Kashi Vishwanath Gange, Hara Hara Mahadeva Shambho, Kashi Vishwanath Gange, Hara Hara Mahadeva Shambho, Hara Hara Mahadeva Shambho, Hara Hara Mahadeva Shambho, Kashi Vishwanath Gange. Hara Hara Mahadeva Shambho, Hara Hara Mahadeva Shambho, Hara Hara Mahadeva Shambho, Kashi Vishwanath Gange, Hara Hara Mahadeva Shambho, 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 Kashi Vishwanath Gange.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
So let's leave our eyes closed for a little while. Then we can extend to each other, inside to inside. We can extend to our companions on Zoom, zooming in. We can extend to our ancestors. We can extend to the great yogis, gurus we know and connected to. Can extend to all the different traditions we participate in, themselves fields of knowledge, information, and light, articulated over time. Then we can extend to that dimension that's mysterious. The archetypal, the gods and goddesses, the devas, dakinis. Then we'll just rest in awareness for a little while. It's a pretty wonderful week last week with all that possibility of invocating the primordial awareness manifesting in time. We've been coming and going with the snow, so I have no idea where I'm at, but we'll just jump right in again. Let's again extend this awareness to each other. We can extend to Juliet. I don't know if she's on Zoom. Let's see. I don't think she's on. So, but I think she's home now, back home. So, I'm going to just read a bit again, because there are people coming and going, but pick a little bit from the elements. And this is a wonderful text, The Gods and Demons Are Not Two. One of these tantric, Dzogchen tantric texts that were written around the 8th, 9th centuries, 7th, 8th, 9th centuries, the time of Padmasambhava and the time of Dzogchen coming to Tibet, but also was already, even before Dzogchen, the Tibetans came, there was the Bon tradition, and it was also Dzogchen there at that time. That goes way back into history. And I don't see Jim here this morning, but he's a person who's very much a Bon practitioner. And and some of these early texts have a different flavor than the later texts, because the early Tibetan text during these times was much less influenced by Indian philosophy, and by the idealism of Indian philosophy. Just like in Shaivism, that was part of on the Indian soil, it was much more embodiment and the flavor of realism, monistic realism rather than monistic idealism. And sometimes when studying such things, whether it's psychology, whatever it is, it's always really great to know a little bit about history of how, welcome, good to see you, how thought evolved out of history. Just like certain ways you can look at thought evolving out of the cosmology of the time. Which is really, really interesting. We did a little bit of that last year with Peter was looking at people like Heidegger, others, and where you can see, following Richard Tarnus's work, where these epics thought actually arises out of the cosmological configurations that you and I are. Of course, you don't have to believe this sort of thing. So I'm going to read a little bit about the elements again, because in the Yeshe Lama, that handbook of Dzogchen, written by Yegme Lingma, he starts off saying, well, the old days we used to focus on the elements a lot, but right now we're not doing that. And Rinzin Dorje had given that empowerment here. And so, but we're going back to the elements, because for me, the elements help us understand the power of these invocations, that you're actually working within the elemental levels, and also the power of transmissions. So I'm just going to read one from this text. And this is one of these old tantras about the 8th century. At the same time, Abba Nagunta also was writing in Kashmir. And the mutual influence of these ways of thinking. And he says, listen, Vajradharma person, the indestructible awareness person, you, I was kind of, okay, I will teach you to share the taste of being an element. They often use that word taste too, the taste of phenomena, the taste of experience. And so they bring it down from visualization to the sense of taste. And taste is not an allocentric, it's autocentric. So if I'm looking at you, you're over there. Taste is autocentric. It's closer to experience than visualization in a certain way. In the beginning, there was this spontaneously formed foundationalness for all things. You can hear the tone of things, yes, things. And the 5 elements presided from the various thoughts. So in the manifestation, the elements, which in the nascent arrival is light. So the very beginning, primordial awareness is emptiness and light in total oneness, radiance. To make things move, there was the foundation of the wind. To make things grow, there was the foundation of the earth. To make things ripen, there was the foundation of fire. Would you mind pressing the little recording on that machine right there, the CD? We're going to record this, okay? To make things congeal, there was the foundation of water. And to open up the vastness of space, there was the foundation of the sky. When we put all these together, these are the 4 great elements. The 5th, of course, is sky. You can also associate for a moment, but you can think of the Dakinis also the manifestation of this arising, as the Dakinis also are considered at times the elements, these primordial lights arising. Ma, ha, Ri, Ni, Sa, space, water, earth, fire, air. And when these elements shift, our awareness flashes. Great statement. So when there's a shift in the elements, a movement in the awareness, our awareness flashes. There's a flash. And in Shaivism they call it the abhasa, flashing out of the light, then it goes back in, flashing forth forms. So all you guys are flashing in front of me at this moment. Self-manifestation. So our awareness flashes, and this is the apparent condition for the lights. Emerging out of this foundationalness, there is this foundation of light, meaning everything and anything is light. And from out of this experience of radiant, clear light, the inner elements are in configurational, moving, configurating. And into the 5 kinds of things that are often within our bodies. And the secret elements are manifested into being the flashing. And the external elements are also manifesting into being all kinds of objects. Flash, head. And this is the way that we engage with the elementalness. And also ways of exercising them, transforming them. When we recognize, not just mentally, but when we experience forms are flashing forth. Forms are flashing forth. Then we may even share the taste of being one of these forms, one of the elements. So in this way, the light is experiencing the light. To share the taste of being earth, teach awareness. This is a bit esoteric, huh? And to share the taste of being water, illuminate awareness. And to share the taste of being fire, ripen awareness. And to share the taste of being sky, let pristine awareness dawn. And to share the taste of being wind, let breathlessness dawn, the breathless breath. Huh? Okay? To share the taste of being earth, teach awareness. And to share the taste of being water, illuminate awareness. And to share the taste of being fire, ripen awareness. You can feel that ripening, that intensification of the radiance, right? It's a bit stretchy at times. And to share the taste of being sky, let pristine awareness dawn, let it open, the opening. And to share the taste of being wind, let breathlessness dawn, arising of the breathless breath. If we do not know how to share this taste of being water, then at times we may be severing our experience of awareness. And if we do not know how to share this taste of being the earth, we may be losing transformation in our awareness. And if we do not know how to share the taste of being fire, we may be having bewilderment with objects and those who have them. And if we do not know how to share the taste of being in the world, we may be losing the power of cleansing with the breath. Like the breathless breath opens and cleanses up, opens the inner light, opens the inner space. If we do not know how to share the taste of being the great elements, we may be getting lost in the extremes of the lesser elements. When we share the taste of being an external element, we will need our senses to experience these kinds of recognitions. So he's kind of bringing in both awareness and sensuousness into the experience of the world. Or the Shaivite masters say the bliss of samadhi is the bliss of this world. For the self-liberation of the elements, and sometimes when we do these invocations, right, we're trying to self-liberate the elements within ourselves in situations, we need certitude. And this is coming back from the talks on the Vajra Kalaya practices last week. We need a conviction that the five elements are self-appearing. This will come up over and over again, the self-appearing of the elements. The self-appearing of the elements means primordial awareness is self-appearing as these elements within me, in front of me, and around me at this moment. It's self-appearing. And then suddenly I realize I am self-appearing right now as primordial awareness. That is the manifestation of Dzogchen at that moment. Say yes if you guys are following this. When we experience the self-manifestation of the self-appearing of the elements and the self-appearing of our own self within the elements, the sense of mindness will manifest. The sense of mindness is not an entity. The sense of mindness, like sometimes in our mind, we can make everything as entities. We'll go into that. But the self-appearance of awareness manifesting in me and manifesting you does have a sense of mindness. It has a singularity. It's manifesting in this singular moment in time as moi. That sense of mindness, that sense of self is really quite wonderful. It's very liquid, it's very flowing, it's very appearing. It is a dimension of awareness itself, in time, in space, in singularity. And actually, it is ultimately unborn, undying, and indestructible, and it will, like the flash, dissolve back into the homeland, to use that language, and then arise again, just like the deities and goddesses do. Say yes if you understand that. So there's a challenge in Dzogchen to some of the anti-self thinking that sometimes you find in Buddhism, and more especially the earlier, more concrete forms of Buddhism. And there's a wonderful book on this that you may want to read. It's called After Buddhism by Stephen Batchelor. And he's rethinking the Dharma in a secular age, but he does it in a very way. It's very hard to find who Buddha is. I don't know if you ever tried to find who Buddha is. The person, if you like a little bit of history. But he's really a master of these texts, and it's very simple texts of the earliest, not so mythic narratives of Buddha, of Gautama, and then he starts elaborating from there. But it's quite a wonderful book, and you may take a look at that. And I'm going to continue on right now with the elements, because when you start relating to the elements, it opens up fluidity, and things are less fixated, but actually they are there. You guys follow this right now? So, we're going to shift from this right now. I'm going to go back to this paper we've been trying to get through for a few moments again. Beyond good and evil, and living within the realm of good and evil. How do we understand that? Being beyond good and evil, and living in the realm of good and evil. Isn't that amazing, huh? Being beyond right and wrong, better and best, truth and falsity. Being beyond good and evil, and yet being in non-duality, and at the same time living in the realm of good and evil, living in the realm of vast suffering and happiness. That's the focus of the little talk again. Okay? We're all in our bodies right now today, in awareness. Let's extend back into the earth. So this is an ethical discussion, because ultimately, ethics, action, how to act here and how to act there. So this is a discussion, not unlike, and I'm building off that previous little element thing, how action emerges out of timeless awareness through us in time. How action emerges out of timeless awareness through us into time. Timeless awareness manifesting in time. And time. Our understanding reflects and is based upon what has been described as the two ways of knowing. The most primordial way of knowing is knowing non-dualistically through awareness, what some call gnosis, direct perception, jnana. And the more common, we may even say the most common sense form of knowing, because gnosis is not necessarily the most common sense way of knowing, but the most common sense way of knowing is knowing through our mind, thinking, feeling, memory, sensation, phantasmagoria. And the instruments of our mind, we all have our favorites, as Jung pointed out, as we know. Some of us think, some of us are feelers, some of us are sensators, some of us are phantasmagorias, and some of us live in memory. This knowing is a mode of knowing difference. In non-duality, oneness. In duality, me and you, us and them, that. So the knowing of duality is a mode of knowing within appearances, and knowing what is appearing both within and without, knowing both externally and internally. Psychologia. We love psychology, right? Because our capacity for this simultaneous skillful, and this is also put out by Longchenpa and others, besides our capacity, Winnicott, Gestalt therapy, all recognize these two modes of knowing. Are you in your mind? Are you in awareness? Sometimes we say we're in our mind, we think, oh, we're just in thinking. But in this frame, the mind is the ego. And it's really good to have an ego, because without an ego, we are at amoeba stage. Okay? So the knowing of duality. Yeah. So because of our capacity, and this is a capacity we all are developing here, more or less, is the simultaneous union of these two modes of knowing, that they're simultaneously, at this moment, in this second, my mind is in awareness, and I'm knowing simultaneously through my mind and awareness simultaneously. It's a heck of a lot different than when I'm simply in my mind alone, located in a dissociated state, meaning mind not in the awareness field, and when I'm simply in awareness, but nothing else is there. So simultaneously, we can know duality from within non-duality, and within non-duality we can know duality. Even at this moment, we can look at this room in a non-dual mode, and in the non-duality, singularity is manifesting, or through singularity, non-duality is manifesting. This world is, as Heraclitus said, absolute oneness and absolute difference. Everybody together right now? Hope it's not getting too boring. We've been through it, but now. So this knowing reflects the simultaneous union of the two modes of knowing, and reflects the very nature of creation, which is oneness and difference. And through the simultaneous integration of these two modes of knowing, we can experience both oneness and difference through our experience of appearance. Through being in this world, we can be both in oneness and difference simultaneously. That is really very powerful and enormously useful. And it can actually give you happiness and survival capacity to have both at the same time. Raise your hands if this is making sense. But the part of the skill is, first of all, knowing the difference between my mind, not easy, and knowing this between my mind and awareness. And that happens by suspending my mind, the approché, you suspend your mind, and you enter awareness. You find yourself in thought-free states. You find yourself in oneness. You find yourself in light. You find yourself in vastness. You find yourself in stillness. You find yourself in energy. You find yourself in vortexes. You start finding yourself in Sambhoga realms, which is already, as soon as Sambhoga starts to appear, duality starts to manifest. Rupa, as soon as form arises, duality starts to manifest. And at the same time, we learn slowly but surely to reintegrate our mind, our voice, our body, our thinking, our feelings in this field. That's the emphasis on Vajrayana. You with me? In early Buddhism, a la the early years, there wasn't a base of primordial awareness. That's why causality was so important, huh? We'll come back in a few moments. So the form of knowingness. Furthermore, this knowingness is action. So the secret Hindu Shaivite masters could declare centuries ago, knowledge is action. Because as this knowing manifests in a situation, here and now, action begins to manifest. Huh? Action. Compassion. Dalai Lama has been emphasized this, is compassion in action. Something is happening. It's not just a good wish. I wish you well. The simultaneous knowingness. So the form of knowingness manifests the action within duality arising from the dimension of non-duality, and the action arising out of non-duality within duality. That's why compassion is not simply a function of my mind. It is not simply a psychological moment of empathy. Invocation is not simply a matter of fantasizing little gods and goddesses running around who look like our uncles. The simultaneous knowingness is the power of compassion. Compassion arises from the non-duality of gnosis, and this power enters into the drama of duality within time. Time, like Being in Time, Heidi's book, is the unfolding of appearance. Time is the unfolding of the pairs of opposites. Huh? And the power of compassion is the power of both self-liberation and protectiveness. It has two components. Compassion is both liberating myself, being of assistance in liberating others, and also, equally, it's the power of protection. That's why a lot of in the mythology of the deities, many of the deities are protectors. The Vajrakalaya is a protector. Because protection and compassion, self-liberation, and the capacity to protect oneself and others is simultaneous. It's not an isolated, solipsistic moment. Yes, please.
That is a radical and extraordinarily useful definition of compassion.
Unfortunately, it's not my own.
Compassion is self-liberation
And protection.
and protection.
Yes.
It
They
is not the giving to the other. It is not the attending to the other.
self-liberation and protection means you can very much give to others and support others in generosity. The first one of those first little things, the first one is generosity. Throughout this entire thing of compassion, it just gets more subtle, is generosity. From the very beginning when Buddha taught, it was generosity. Compassion in the first form was very a concrete, generous. But as you start going into the subtle realms, then self-liberation becomes possible. And then protection really becomes possible through the use of the energy itself, and the light. Say yes if you guys are following this.
Yes.
Say yes if you're not. You're protecting from evil, suffering, unbearable suffering. In one level, non-dually, there's total goodness. And in time, there's evilness and goodness. There's the most horrible, unfathomable suffering and vast happiness. So, we can sometimes overemphasize total goodness, and then the Chinese hordes come in, destroy every fucking thing, torture everybody for the next 50 years. Also known as what the fuck. Compassion that liberates us is not a private affair. It may be fighting one's own mind. It may be destroying the evilness in our own mind. It may be cutting through the evilness in situations, and also cutting through the evilness in a person who is compulsively, loving, torturing everyone and anything.
So cutting through something that is not aware of the oneness, that is dissolving the oneness, that is moving away from the oneness. Cutting through that so that oneness can go into that.
I'm hearing what you're saying, but for some reason I don't agree with it at this moment. I'm not quite sure, because I think in the ecstasy of cruelty, there's a vast state of oneness that arises. And in the ecstasy of omnipotence, there's godlike oneness. And it's so orgasmic, you repeat it ceaselessly and endlessly.
So you're seeing the oneness in it.
Oneness, non-duality, true non-duality, is of essence the great compassion of self-liberation and protection. There's no other steps. That's why if you're a person who's liberating yourself, whatever that means, in whatever way you're doing it, and others, and you also have the protection of innocentia simultaneously, you are ready. Wherever there's love, there's non-duality. We all know that. So wherever love appears, there's non-duality.
That's like what happened to me a couple of weeks ago when you said terror, and I said it was like you set off a percussion.
When you said terror, you're right, when there was terror and light together.
And then I fell in love with it.
Yes.
And I could see the passion in the terror that was being performed. The source of the terror was some kind of passion.
Passionate, yes.
Intensity, I kind of fell in love. It scared me, but I fell in love with it.
Then you can hold it. I'm going to continue on with this right now, okay? Can they hear? Okay, okay, I should repeat. I'm sorry, I should repeat that, okay? So, this power of compassion is both the power of self-liberation and protectiveness. I think the word loving kindness sounds wimpy. It sounds, maybe because I'm from the South, it sounds like good manners. Doing okay? Doing okay? Everybody okay? So the power of compassion liberates us from evil, delivers us from evil. Compassion liberates us from evil within us and within circumstances. A lot of evil is self-hate. That's evil. That's evil. As a great Christian prayer, the Our Father invokes, deliver us from evil, now and at the hour of our death. So compassion arises and gives us the power of protection and protectiveness towards those vulnerable to evil and suffering. You know, sometimes I see that image of Lord Shiva sitting on top of a mountain, freezing his butt. And then in the mythology around Shiva, that solipsistic state. That's not compassion. That's not karuna. The closer and the more our mind is integrated, that's why our mind is so important, that's why our mind is so precious. When our mind is integrated into this awareness, this field of knowingness, then the more our mind, my mind, your mind, is infused by the sense, the implicit sense of non-duality, the inner heart essence, source, pure love, light. This integration of mind within awareness overcomes, heals the primary developmental dissociation between our mind and innate awareness. The most basic dissociation, the most basic foreclosure, there's a Freudian word for that, is between my mind and my awareness. Some people, that foreclosure doesn't take place. So baby gnosis continues for them. Not always a peaceful white bread life. You with me? So that, through the awakening of the awareness, with that, and through the integrating, or it says in the Godaba Tantra, bring your mind into your heart. The entire Tantra, that is the focus. Bring your mind into the heart. And as Yen Qian would describe in the Qigong, mind-heart connection, right? That is where the Qi really arises from. Now, the further our mind is distant, separated from this innate relatedness of primordial non-dual awareness, the self-manifestation of non-dual awareness, then more my mind, your mind, becomes a thing among things. The more I become rarefied, the more my mind is a thing, and everything I look at is a thing. I become a thing in a thing world. And of course, everything and anything happens then. And so our thoughts become things, Our feelings become things. Sensation is thing-like. Drivenness as a thing. Subjectivity of both self and otherness as thing-like. Sexuality, thing-like. And the world itself is a thing. Then our very humanness does not unfold into fruitionalness. Muktananda used to say this. We do not become what we are. The anima mundi disappears. The world as soul, as psyche, disappears, and only things remain. Eric Fromm also wrote that. That what he said. He thought that was going to be the marketing character. Then the world become just things. Thing like life. Quantification of everything and anything. Compulsivity. Compulsion. When you and I are in compulsion, there's a mental compulsion, but the true compulsion is being a thing. There is no psyche in true compulsive. Have you been compulsive? Ever? You've experienced compulsion? And we confuse compulsion with desire. Because actually, desire is the manifestation of psyche. But much of what people call desire, Dakini's laugh, is compulsion, a drivenness, a thing-likeness, where there's not an ounce of psyche in it whatsoever. None. No psyche. You feel this? So happily, here's a good thought at last, happily, whenever there is a rising of love, I don't mean liking, but when there's a rising of love, then the self-arising of non-duality within duality takes place. So you can throw this philosophy away and forget about it. So wherever there's love, the non-duality arises. Huh? How to sustain it? That's another question. So whenever there is love, there's a self-arising of compassionate protection. Or as the medievalists used to say, ubi caritas et amor Deus EBS, which means wherever there is charity and love, there is God. Or again, from the Christian point of view, they would say, God is love. What is God is love? And then the ancient Greeks and the alchemists and the Dzogchen, they would say, love is a God. So love is an archetype, huh? There's a difference between that. Huh? Love, God is love. But it boils down to the same thing, but divinity as love. Openness is love. So belief in divinity or deity, or even belief in the archetypical dimension experience, is not the same as the power of invocation. I have all these beliefs. I believe in archetypes. I have little pictures of them. But that belief does not touch, reach the power of invocation. Say yes if you can feel that. Yes. The power of invocation is the power of bringing forth within our own bodies, within our own situation, that dimension which is more or less invisible, which is the Sambhogakaya dimension, which is manifesting us here and now, right now. We like to think we have free will, right? A lot of our life is totally determined, and with a certain form of skillful means, we gain freedom. But a lot of I'll run into this a little bit now. It looks like we're free, right? Smells like it. So the power of invocation of the archetypical realm and the consequent bringing forth of this luminous realm into this world of appearance and experience is great agency. Great agency. To have agency in this world is something else. Huh? And have agency at different dimensions is really something else. I have agency. Should I brush my teeth or not right now? That's the limit. Agency, as if it's given. The Council of Trent, 325, described a person as self-agency. Tremendous definition. The capacity to act out of oneself, or actually acting out of primordial awareness, as they would say it, but not easily experienced. We're almost done. So invoking and bringing forth the power of the archetypical situation and our own embodiment is magical realism. Because there is a magical quality about bringing forth this dimension in our life, being in the subtle realm, working with these subtle energies, and yet it's not idealism. Something actually happens in events. If it doesn't happen in events, then nothing is happening. Through the power of invocation, raise your hands if you know what invocation is. Through the power of invocation, the power of the archetypical dimension can arise around you and through you. Our very oneness with the archetypical dimension can bring forth goodness around us, through us, to us. I don't mean you have to have a little fantasy or pictures, but there are people who meet them, ordinary people, and they have this connection to this dimension that is simply beyond their mind, their thinking, feeling, sensation, memory. They have this quality of nature coming into them, and they can invoke that and work with it. It is not, don't lock it into religion. If you lock it into religion, you'll miss something. You'll miss more what's obvious about the power of the archetypical dimension. Our very oneness with the archetypical dimension can bring forth goodness around us and through us and in us, right? You've met people like that, totally irreligious, don't believe in credo unum, and yet there's this exquisite dimension that comes around them over and over. They are compassionate, they are protective, and that energy is beyond their mind, beyond their education, and everything else. Raise your hand if you ever met such people. So, just as the power of evil can come forth through us and around us, yes, evil can come forth from us and through us, and it arises out of an archetypical context within us. We like to think it's all our rational little mind. I'm going to make a decision. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Suffering arises out of archetypical contexts and sources. Some think, do you think that the archetypical is just goody-goody? Sweetie? Some think and restrict the archetypical realm to the interior world of the human psyche. Jung battled about this all the time. Is it from my mind, the collective mind, or is there something that is actually manifesting in here from the beingness of our own being itself? They think within a Cartesian, Kantian philosophical framework the basic division between subjectivity and the objective world. The archetypical are fields of energy, light, information that inform both psyche and matter. There's this continuity between the inner and the outer, and that's really scary. Now, it's not that my mind is creating all this, like some would think, oh, I'm creating all these enemies around me, or I'm just creating all these friends with my mind. I'm thinking, well, good, and I have all these great companions. It's just my mind doing this, right? Yeah. Come on, it's funny. So there is this simultaneous arising, both within our mind and around us. It's a simultaneous event. And sometimes there's a lot of conflictual ones coming simultaneously. Or do you think it's all coming from your mind? Your teeny weeny mind. Teeny weeny. If by mind you mean archetypal, if by mind you mean that in the Lord's sense, but then the word mind starts losing meaning. A lot of confusion between mind and awareness. So the archetypical fields are energy, light, information that inform both psyche and matter. There's a continuity between the inner and the outer. The archetypical dimension is manifesting both the experience within psyche and the phenomena of circumstance, even right now today. Saturn and the moon are conjunct today. The archetypical dimension is both non-dualistic and dualistic. I thought they were just non-dual. The archetypical is both cosmological and personal. Do you feel that? Do you feel the archetypical is cosmological and personal? That you embody that personally? It comes through your person? Evil, alas, is not simply psychological. Get them to the therapist. We all need therapy here. And then we will become a better group. Go to therapy. Go to therapy. We need therapy. We need more therapy in this world, right? So, evil is not simply psychological, but is cosmologically rooted, and it's constantly becoming psychological. It's manifesting. It becomes psychological, huh? It becomes psychologies, huh? More or less, as we relate to circumstances and our own unfolding of primordial awareness in us, as these energies arise in us. What do I do with them? How do I relate with them? How do I own them? How do I... And not only that, but it's contagious. The energy in me is contagious around me, whether good or evil, whether inflicting pain, suffering, or love. It is a contagion. Nothing takes place simply within the boundaries of our body. Whether it's people, groups of people, tribes, cities, countries, epochs. It's like contagion. There's contagion right now in our country. Contagion. It just moves. What is this? So evil, what is evil? I love having opinions. Evil, just opinions. This is all just opinion, is suffering. And evil is the infliction of suffering. The love, sounds like it's two words that shouldn't be connected, but the love of the infliction of suffering is evilness that is both personalized and archetypically manifested. Self-liberation is not earned, but is given naturally to everyone. But this natural givenness, this natural gift, is hidden by political, cultural, religious, personal, and archetypical obscurations. The darkness of Marigpa is archetypal, cultural, epical, religious, and personal. It happens. It happens. It happens. It's given. It's given before I came into this world. It was already given to me and to you. It was there. And you didn't make a little choice to be Marigpa. It was there, built. Awareness itself, concealing itself. Collectively, the unconscious is the obscuration of natural awareness, which is natural compassion. The ethos of compassion is the power to perceive through the union of mind and awareness, bringing both in, simultaneously in the immediacy of a lived context, the immediacy of a lived situation, and the immediacy of self-arising, of non-duality, manifesting within duality. Pretty dynamic life, huh? Pretty intense, manifesting here and now. Non-duality infusing duality, and duality infusing our experience of non-duality. Duality infuses my experience of non-duality. nothing is untouchable. Self-liberation, I actually don't like the word realization. I love the word self-liberation. Self-liberation through this simultaneous experience of the very presence of goodness and the presence of evilness and the intertwining of both. Self-liberation takes place in the presence arising, in the presence of goodness, and also the presence of evilness simultaneously, both within ourselves and others. Suffering, happiness. Follow the drama of self-liberation as compassion in the realms of goodness and evilness, suffering and happiness. That is the most basic phenomena and the most basic framing of experience, more or less from babyhood into nowhood. Good din din, bad din din. Good breaths, bad breaths. Good, bad, pleasure, soothing, form. Nothing, absence, gap. Hook to that. Oh, that's more. Basic, primordial, all the way up to now, watching TV. Hang out. This intertwining is the alchemical mixture of both psyche and circumstances. The fire of self-liberation, and it is fire, huh? It is fire. It's like being on fire, the activated fire. When there's vast goodness and vast evilness that's intertwining or within ourselves and others. That fire is the fire of liberation and working it. Through our experience of being within, I'm sorry. So the fire of self-liberation is within the momentum. Self-liberation, becoming liberated, becoming free, takes place within the momentum, within the moment, not the second, but the momentum of my life, even at this moment, as touching into non-duality, total purity, total goodness, light, luminous golden light, manifesting in time, in form, as everything and anything. Same light, manifesting, becoming through the elements, configurations, good, evil, happiness, suffering. And then we go into that mass of phenomena, embracing it and either liberating ourselves, liberating each other in a mutual way, and protection, dissolving suffering. That's one of the things I do like about early Buddha teachings. Lord Buddha, don't like everything, but his emphasis on engaging with suffering. Follow the phrase, engaging with suffering. Engaging with suffering. Engaging with suffering. One more time. Engaging with suffering. Within the Dharmakaya, so through our experience of being in mind awareness, they're now connected, this union, and experiencing this conjunction of self-arising, of the confluence of this fire of goodness and evilness. It is not only on the Dharmakaya level, but it also opens on the Sambhogakaya level, the archetypical level, and arising out of pure Dharmakaya. So it's not simply on this level does the configuration, the alchemical issues, because you and I are the archetypical situation sitting here right at this moment. Do you follow that last phrase? Not like the archetypes are out there praying out there. They're manifesting here. That's why I'd like you guys to read The Clear Mirror, the autobiography of Durjam Lingpa, and his adventures in the Sambhogakaya realm. Has anybody read that yet? It's another metaphorical way of experiencing this. So we're going to stop right now. I'll just read one more paragraph then. So within the Dharmakaya, there's the infinity of pure potential space, right? Non-dual, totally pure. There's only purity. There's only goodness. There's no thingness. And then she, call her she begins manifesting everything and anything. And in this experience, in the dimensions of the appearance of duality and also the apparitions level, which is Sambhoga, Rupa, form, the pairs of opposites take place. And without awareness, hold this for a minute, without awareness, literally without awareness, these extremes, these opposites cannot be held. Without the base of awareness, self-liberation congeals. And that's why we all like the word borderline states, right? Borderline states is an existential situation that every human being passes through, and some stay in it more than others, where the base of awareness did not take place, was not accessible, was not held, was precluded, was stolen, and so one is left in the world of extremes. And vast amount of suffering happens to that person or to those around them. And that is existential, here and now, more often than not, think about the DSM-5, that this arises for people caught in the extremes, one side, good, bad side, same phenomena, same primitive stuff, because there's nothing to hold it, nothing to infuse it, and it happens relentlessly, and not just a function of some stupid diagnosis someplace. Raise your hands if you understand. You have to agree with what I'm saying.
And Rudy, it's so complex because some of those people can hold awareness.
Say it again, please.
It's complex because some of those people can hold you in the state temporarily.
Yes.
And then they pop out.
Yes, like most of us. So when you study borderline states and you free it from naive psychology, you see the powerful drama taking place. So let's. Yes, please.
Psychotic states.
Come again.
Then move to psychotic states.
Just if you then move to psychotic states,
It's kind of interesting because then there's even less awareness.
when you move to psychotic states, there's two forms of psychotic states in the context we're talking now. There's psychotic states that are thing states. You with me? And there's no awareness there at all. There's thing-like states. Everybody has dealt with that at some point in their life. Compulsive thing-like states. There's another form of psychosis that is really a gradual attempt of self-liberation, where the archetypical arises in that person so powerfully strong but their mind can't hold it, and the awareness that is infusing the archetypical is there, and that's a beneficiary psychotic state that you can move through. And many times when people have awakening of awareness in a powerful way, they have little psychotic-like interludes that are just part of the story. Right? There's actually a very good book on this by William Richardson, and he's one of the people at Johns Hopkins who does the where you came from with, and he does the has a new book out on a survey of the whole issue. There's a certain Ethereum, what do they call the word for drugs that like LSD and all. Yeah, yes, these drugs and how it relates to psychosis and the liberation aspect of these states that we go into. So I hope everybody's enjoying this together right now, and it's a little bit of a challenge, but I'm asking you to consider holding this for a little while at least. Yes, please.
I don't know if I'm being too simplistic or reductionistic, but that last statement that you made about awareness,
Yes, please.
it seems to me that that's the theme of the talk that you just gave, that if our capacity to hold awareness also enables us to see the pairs of opposites without being stuck in them.
Yes, absolutely. It allows us to experience the pairs of opposites within ourselves, within others, and we begin to experience, as we move ahead, that the pairs of opposites are the light of awareness itself. And with that, our capacity to be in this world is heavily moves a lot, because we don't split as easily. We're not disjointed, and we can live because we have to integrate both the good and the evilness within our own being and within others. But we're also free to deal with these pairs of opposites when they're confronting us with me in a way that if in that situation, if it fits the situation, then gnosis is taking place. But it doesn't always guarantee things are going to end happily ever after.
Right.
So you're kind of able to hold
It's
trust.
almost like when we encounter that, it's an opportunity for liberation for ourselves.
Absolutely. Because that's liberation is through our circumstances. All these little practices are useful, but they're incidental in a very big way. The real is learning to hold awareness and then what's being presented in our life. Or you can minimize everything to such an extent, as has often been tried in certain forms of philosophy. You just minimize everything. You minimize desire, you minimize passion, you minimize this, and you minimize that. And something might actually happen for you. Neti, neti, neti is very good for one person. Neti, neti, neti doesn't help out the human race. Neti, 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 not this, and not this, can help a person out. But it doesn't really help out human beings where they live in the world, and it has meaning, it has value, and it continues generation after generation. Neti, neti, neti disappears over time. Or it's for a few. It's for what's the word for the better half? Elite. Neti, neti, neti. Even if you're poor, it's an elitist undertaking. It's an elitist undertaking. Elitist. So, let's focus inside for a few minutes. For the past 2,000 years, religion has been under the influence of the guru, great planet, cosmological, Jupiter. In the last 30 years, and Jupiter has to do with kings, theocracies, hierarchy, stratosphere, karmic status, PhDs meant something in those days. They did. They don't mean anything anymore. Sorry, I know you can't. Priest-states, Brahmins, theocracies, lamas in certain ways. You with me? Really? It's all crumbling down. Crumbling down. Saturn. Today's Saturn's Day. I'm doing a Saturn talk today. Saturn. Democracy. Evenness. No hierarchy. Democracy. Self-agency. Availability of everything, including the divine realms, without intermediaries. Yes, that's brought to you by computers, right? For good and for bad. The great evil good realm.
So when the moon is conjunct with Saturn, what is that?
The moon conjunct with Saturn, there's a lot of power in it. You with me? And it is a particular time of Dharma. And whereas the Guru planet has a lot of, as teacher, has costumes and beauty, and we sang Hare Ramakrishna. We started off in that beauty. But Saturn, there's no clothes. It is naked. It is so direct. And it's unbelievably challenging. And it reconstructs, it undoes previous ways of thinking. It's like that Bhagavan Nityananda was a Saturnian guru. Not easy, not easy, not easy.
So Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders is actually picking that up in his own way. And the dilemma, the dilemma is there enough Saturnian structure to support it? You with me? He's inspired, but he's a Senex. In a truest sense, he's a Senex person. You with me? In Jungian sense, a wisdom coming in, and has a tremendous appeal to certain forms of the hungering for liberation. You with me? Because in these frames, capitalist society, these big capitalist things, are no different than medieval society. It's the same exact society repeated one more time. Or the same thing you see in things like in taking place in the East, where the dictatorships is undone, and then you have all this other stuff coming. It's always unpredictable. So, but he's picking that up at right now. That Senex quality of Saturn, and he's a Saturn guy, you know. So hope we're having fun today. So we're going to sit for a moment. Let's close our eyes for a minute, okay? And then we'll work with each other. But Saturn, believe it or not, Saturn is air. Saturn is the element of air, and it comes through like a wind. It comes through like a wind when it comes. And it's very hard. And Saturn is the strongest of all the cosmological frames. So ultimately, if you're attuned to Saturn, the rewards of Saturn are liberation. The planet of self-liberation is Saturn. We might say realization is the planet of Jupiter, with two different tones to it.
Could you say more about that? Realization.
Realization is this. I'm becoming realized.
That's right.
And now I am realized, okay? Thank you very much, okay? That's realization. I realized. I'm on.
Rudy, we're missing it.
No, you didn't.
Maybe you did, and maybe you didn't. I'll do it again. You want me to do it again? Okay, this is realization.
Skip, can you move?
Now I'm realized, okay? Now I'm realized, okay?
So it's all internal.
And in a way, in the way that I'm putting it's internal, But realization is also for others, with true realization and great masters, because a great master's realization permeates everybody here and everybody there and everybody. It permeates. You with me? It's a contagion of the most powerful level. So, to me, this way of thinking, which is not only my way of thinking, but which is taking place, is because of what's happened in the fragmentation of some of these great traditions. The great masters who are all dying, they all are dying. They're leaving. They all are leaving. There's a new group coming, but it's not the same story. You with me? Last week, 2 or 3 of them died. Another one, they're all leaving. So this form is leaving, and they did vast amounts of help for people. You with me? But the philosophical frame was realization. The philosophical frame is not the frame of self-liberation that's everyone's deal through circumstances. Religion is actually sort of on the way out. You don't have to believe any of this.
But now we're gonna have 2,000 years of Saturn.
We're going to have 2,000 years of Saturn.
Even the Pope is saying religion is.
Even the Pope. The Pope is an interesting character. He truly is. How he got there, I have no idea. But he's now suspicious of all priests in the seminaries. He's right. He's suspicious of priests. Okay.
He got there because of evil.
And yes, he did. And also he got there because of unbound. And also he is suspicious of religion. And this is not an anti-religious talk. It's a talk that takes you beyond institutionalization of everything, and it takes you beyond solipsistic practices. You with me? Which actually are beneficial. I do lots of solipsistic practices. I love solipsistic practices. Sometimes I share them, but really and truly, I benefit.
It's the internet era.
Say it again?
It's the internet era.
Yes. Say that again out loud.
It's the internet era.
Yes.
Everybody's connected to everybody all the time.
Yes. And there's an intimacy, because I thought you were initially saying the intimate era, because there's an intimacy.
No, it comes with intimacy.
It comes with it, because there's an intimacy which is inside to inside, direct, and ultimately opens the door of non-duality. Or as there's a great Zen master who used to be in Wisconsin, one of the students used to say, he would say, Zen is intimacy. And the problem with Zen is that it's intimacy. And why it's so hard is because it's intimacy. And we like using that word, but really and truly, it's too tough. Yes, please. You want to say something? Someone else want to say? Yes. People in Florida there?
I reacted. Yeah, I reacted to the positive interpretation of Saturn because it's also ISIS, and it's also Mr. Trump, and so it's not like it is a golden path opening up to us anyway. It's like there are going to be all of these versions of it. There's just so much taking form in ecstatic and in demonic.
One little that can call a heck of, one little that can cause a heck of a lot of stuff. And it's very wild. We're in a time of reformulation that is quite something. Even the illnesses are all new. So Saturn, Dharma is really important for Saturn. Saturn is dharmic, but it's dharmic in the situation. It's not dharma in religious practice. Did you offer your merit today? Did you say 35,000 of these today? It is the dharma of the momentum. It's the dharma of the moment. It's the dharma of our life, just as it is. And it's a quality consciousness from the very beginning.
I just wanted to speak to Saturn and suffering. If you could speak to Saturn and suffering. Okay, so Saturn is reality, and suffering is part of reality.
Absolutely.
So, learning, through experience and through our circumstances, we are being challenged to hold both in self-liberation, the reality of suffering that is coming towards us, and that we... Anyway, I'm getting lost now, but that was it.
Ready? But just a minute. Saturn actually is the base of awareness also. So there is suffering, and Saturn can cause vast amounts of suffering. Saturn and Mars recently caused a lot of suffering. But in Saturn, if you embrace Saturn, you can metabolize suffering, you can dissolve suffering, and you can free yourself from suffering. You follow me? Saturn is the process of liberating. It both manifests and frees us from suffering. So unless we overcome the terror of Saturn, because Saturn is the planet of terror, unless we overcome the terror and can embrace terror, then we can begin to liberate ourselves from suffering. Illness comes from a lot of places, like illness, right? And Saturn can be a player in illness. Mars, every planet can play into illness. But to the degree that we have Saturn and manifest Saturn and attune ourselves to Saturn, we can meet everything and anything. And in that process of it, we become fearless. And in the process of that fire, we can learn to metabolize everything and anything. And also Saturn can give us the power of invocation. You with me? Because it can also give us certitude. Saturn is very stubborn. If you have a lot of Saturn, you can be a very stubborn person. And if you're stubborn enough and you have that certitude, you can reach deep into awareness itself. That makes sense? Saturn is the greatest of the planets. When you first hear of Saturn, I'm blabbing now, the story that Shiva was going into Sadi Saturn. Sadi Saturn is when the Saturn is there with your moon for like 7 years. Okay, so Shiva decides to run. He's scared, okay? He runs here, he runs there. Wherever he runs, there's Saturn. Finally, he goes up a thorn tree, really hard up there. And at the top of the tree is Saturn. We can never escape from Saturn. This okay? Yes, please.
I was going to say what Karen said.
What Karen said.
Karen said
So beautifully echoed.
Elizabeth's poem.
Yes.
She said something like, she could say it better than that
I don't have it memorized.
Make it up.
that pain, anyone who thinks that pain and suffering is not useful for liberation, that's an abomination.
Yes, that's about right. Yes.
Say that, please.
That anybody who thinks that pain or strain or fear is not part of the path of liberation, it's an abomination. And I wanted to say something, because in all the invoking of the Vajrakalaya this week, that was my experience. And all week long anytime I have found myself in a state that even tasted like a bit of suffering, I have said the mantra.
Yes.
And I have found that energy just cuts through, and this amazing place, it's not a place of not recognizing there's a hard thing in front of me, but it's not going into fantasy, but it's a place of recognizing the essential is always there, even in the face of the suffering. And that reality, what I find is my emotional body can take over, and I don't know that in that moment. And the Vajrakalaya practice has been giving me that knowing in an instant, just like that.
Beautifully described it. As she's talking, you can feel Saturn in her, right? And without Saturn, nothing can be accomplished. Saturn is the strength of fortitude, you know? It's a gift. But like all these archetypes, what is inside is also being manifested outside. So as Saturn arises, circumstances will arise, both outside and also both inside. If I can attune myself to the Saturnian dimension, then what I am experiencing is the source of liberation. That's why all the Dakinis are born not in palaces. The Dakinis are born in burial grounds, cremation grounds. And cremation grounds in those days were just a place they threw a lot of bodies. Just they throw the bodies out and the bodies are rotting and the birds are coming, whatever the birds are, the vultures and thieves, and they were horrible. So people can have horrendous places of birth. You with me? And that birth is a source of liberation. And sometimes because dissociation did not take place so amicably between mind and awareness, because of shit taking place, those people, awareness is still open for them. You with me? In spite of its difficulties of being impinged upon and experiencing energies that no one 6 years old should experience, but that is the path of realization in a direct way. Then some of us who are much more, how can I say, dissociated, it happens later on when we meet a master, and then the light opens up. Yes, please. Yes, somebody want to say yes? Oh, good. Good to see you.
I actually have a question. So if this is the dissolving of Jupiter and that top-down hierarchical structure and leadership, what does leadership look like in the Saturnian age, or does leadership dissipate?
Really good question. You know, that is a really good question. And as I look at what's taking place, I have no idea anymore. Just look at leadership in this world. Look at leadership. Do you see a leader? I mean, you see, you can see who the leadership is changing, isn't it? You know, I was thinking today when I see the other thing, I said, oh man, I remember JFK, you know, and other people, and some I disliked it not, but there was a leadership of a quality, whether we liked some of these characters or not, Reagan and people like that, there was this leadership quality that was there. You don't see that. Yes.
I'm just making it up, but if you have hierarchical structures dissolving, then also the power that's been held up actually dilutes, so that it's kind of more held, you know, with the lower ranks as well.
Cool. There you go. There you go.
Having lived in Vermont, and and having experienced town meetings, that for me, that was the most, the closest experience of by the people and for the people. And I would say that part of our problem today is that we're in these huge communities where we're disconnected. If you're in a small community where, even in a city, you can be in a small community, communities that are connected and therefore you're able to have a voice, and that voice is heard. And that, it seems to me that's what it's about.
In Iowa, too. The Iowa things was very
Yeah.
town meetings and people doing deals.
Well, and that's also sort of what Bernie's doing with his campaign. He's getting that grassroots people or mobilizing people. But anyway, the other thing I wanted to say about something you were saying earlier was that this business about the Saturnian stuff, about really coming down into kind of the basics of having that voice and participating in life and in suffering and embodying that. It's also paired with compassion, which is what you were talking about earlier. That hand-in-hand piece is what makes it come alive and possible to go beyond, right?
Another way of saying this, when you look at things as just emptiness itself, as Narguna did. You with me? And that influenced a vast amount of what took place, because emptiness in the early life of Buddha meant, which I really like this phrase, abiding within emptiness. And if we close our eyes right now, we can feel ourselves abiding in emptiness, right? More or less, right? And then Narguna comes along and says that's there, but there's something that's cosmological. There was no cosmology other than some form of causality in the immediate ping pong frame. So he starts bringing in the cosmological. Then, but there was no radiance. You with me? Then with the Tara Tantra, radiance begins to become more manifest, and thusness becoming the mixture of radiance and openness, potentiality. So potentiality and radiance. And so radiance creates all the appearance. Radiance is the flashes that we're seeing, the flashes of you right now. And recognize your own experience as a radiance, as mindness in particularity right now. So let's hold awareness, and then before we end our little seminar today, let's do this, okay? Let's do it a little bit of time here. Let's do a little bit of a geometry. Okay? And you can just sit there, you can sit right there. You can sit right there, Jeff. If you're feeling well, you can sit right here. That's all. And then let's put this out of the way. Okay, you can sit right here. And maybe let's all fill in the things a little bit. Yes, you can sit in the middle. So we're going to focus on Elizabeth right now. And we're going to extend to Elizabeth. And we're going to extend her. And as we extend her, I'm going to read this little statement on the Togao, the gazing practices from Dujam Lingpa. In the heart, where luminosity abides as the ground awareness, is a bindu, right? The bindu, of light, like a peacock's egg. It's like the blue pearl, in Shaivism, indicating the presence of the nature, intrinsic nature, and compassion. From that, light rays radiate outward and upward. So the rays are coming both to us, say from Elizabeth, and also radiating up. So we're both radiating to Elizabeth and also up and down and more subtly into the different dimensions in the realms, these realms we live in. And invoking the enlightened awareness of all the victorious ones and their heirs. So we go into the generational field of all the different traditions we participate in. The generational field is not only our moms and dads and that. The generational field is also the great masters, great yogis. And arising as an inexhaustible, this unfolding wheel of enlightened body, speech, and mind, qualities and activities, like the massing of clouds. They dissolve, even at this moment, into our body, mind, and speech, and qualities. And they bring us into the path of wisdom. And the bindu of the ground, I may say, is the deity of the heart. And then resting in this nature as much as possible is the method. And that's enough for right now. So let's lean into Elizabeth and let's pass through her. Let's see if we can do that. Let's extend ourselves. And we can extend ourselves from the front, we can extend ourselves from the middle, or we can extend from all the way to the back, and we can then pass through. We enter union, actually, the conjunctio, mysterious conjunctio. Say yes if you're feeling that now. And thank you, Elizabeth. Is Brian here? Yeah. Why don't you sit in the middle? Great. Anybody else new here? Thank you. Tom, you going on vacation soon? Are you?
Yeah, next 2 weeks.
Okay, good. We'll miss you.
I'll be here there.
Great. So let's we're going to extend it to. Can we touch you? Can the people touch you? So you can touch Brian. And let's all extend into Brian. Inside to inside. Awareness. And sometimes we can extend, and sometimes we can pause and we can pull. It's another way of opening up the field. We can just, like the magnetizer, you can pull on the field. It's this embodied field. Let's intensify the field a little bit. Let's extend into Brian's heart, the heart drops. Let's extend up into Brian's mind with using the heart energy. Let's invoke Saturn. That's Saturnian energy in ourselves. Letting Saturn infuse our minds. Saturn can give stability to our mind. First, it can tremble us, shake us up, get us nervous, undo us. But as we get used to it, as we assimilate that dimension, then we become stable in awareness, which is not a thing. As we become stable in awareness was not a thing, and things begin to change, become less thing-like. And we find ourselves living more and more in fluidity, being itself, and light. A lot of times, the Dharma becomes compulsive activity. A lot of times, Dharma becomes compulsive activity. I mean, think it's a desire, but it's so dense. It's very locked into right and wrong, good and evil, better and best. And out of goodness, we become mechanical, quantifying everything and anything, thinking we're earning away like rats escaping from a cage. Another form of the superego. Dharma is not a superego activity. Dharma deconstructs the superego, frees us from that way of surviving. Let's extend again to each other. Let's extend to our friends on the internet, those people in Florida, St. John's, and other happy places. Glad you guys are here. And again, we'll extend to Juliet. And we'll extend love to her and to Bill. And we're also extending sustainingness. Saturn is also the planet of sustaining. You with me? Saturn is the planet of sustaining what's been accomplished. In certain ways, Saturn is also the planet of longevity. If you're only in Mars, you're a quick flash. So we're going to start the end together and rub our hands together. Place it in our hearts. So we're all practicing the same thing. We love meditation. We love sitting. And without meditation, without sitting and entering a non-dual state, without meditation, the probability of you entering non-dual states, it gets limited. Moments of love, you'll be there. But if you practice meditation and you do all those little things extending to people and traditions, it infuses us, and then we can be in a non-dual state. But then we open our eyes, integrate our mind, thinking, feeling, sensation, take our mind with us, and then we can live in the world. And then, in this world, ordinary people, without it being a big deal, experience non-duality within duality, and duality within non-duality. And the more we mythologize it, or the more we think it's for the big mahukas, you with me? Nothing will happen. It just won't happen. Because we're not big mahukas. Ordinary people. Saturn is the planet of ordinariness. Ultimately, Saturn is the planet of ordinariness. Yes?
Rudy, I just wanted to say before we leave what a moving experience it was that as soon as you sent us the email about you,
Yes.
the whole community mobilized, and through the meditations Saturday and Sunday morning and Sunday evening. So the community. There
Yes.
was this great sense of unity of holding Juliet in the light.
Yes.
It's really
Total there.
which I don't think I've ever experienced in another
Yeah,
community.
yeah.
It was very beautiful and very
And sustained.
so powerful.
Great. And
Thank you to all the community.
thank you so much. And maybe sometimes we'll have again, if people want, this is what I'm thinking. I really like Zoom because it's really not that big a deal. Yeah. And so maybe sometimes, this is what I'm thinking, maybe sometimes on a Sunday we could use Zoom and someone can do a text if you like doing, because you can do these texts. These texts aren't institutionalized. Tradition is not necessarily an institutionalized experience. You follow me? You can do these texts, and we can do that. But also, I have so many DVDs of really these great empowerments, Ninti Yobishi, and this and that. And I'm wondering maybe in time, maybe someone else on a Thursday night can use, but this would just be for people in the center. We can use this code here, and then someone else may put on Kunzen Dechen Lipa, given the empowerment of something or other, and or Rinjin Dorje given the empowerment of Togal and these things, and then this way, because it's not going to happen any other way actually, but we have a way now Doesn't cost anything. It costs time, 2 hours or an hour at a time. And we can maybe start to do that with some stability. With some stability. I might start to do that now. That sounds really great. So let's think about that, how we're going to do that, okay? Huh? Yeah, we'll be here Saturday morning, 8 o'clock. The Saturnian way, yes.
Could I just ask?
Yes, please.
People on Friday at midday, I'm having a colonoscopy.
Good luck.
I'm having some problems there, so I'm hoping they're going to just go away and I won't have to have surgery.
We do too, hon.
Could maybe send a little.
We're actually going to send it to you now and then. When is it on Saturday? On Friday.
Friday between 11:30 and 1.
We'll focus with you. Let's all focus.
Into the future.
Yep.
Past, present, and future. Thank you, guys, and
Thank you.
see you all next week.
They have a Zoom room, and I would be happy to do that on a Thursday.
That would be perfect. Someone you want. Let's work this out.
Okay.
And it would be perfect to do that, okay? A Zoom thing, and we'll pick out a program for you to do on Thursday night.
Okay.
Good to see you. We'll pick out a program for you to do. One of the things, like it could be, you might do it one night, another Thursday. It might be 4 Thursdays. You get one of these great transmissions and things like
I
that.
just found some original talks by Baba Swami Nityananda
Yes,
too.
I would love to see which ones these are. That'd be great.
Yeah. So
That would be totally great. You might do the Baba night. if you want, okay? Because we're trying to make some very specific things that are on, and we can do that. Great.
fantastic. I'm teaching meditation at Village Yoga now.
Great.
So for beginners, anybody who's a beginner, should
I'd
I
be glad
send
you're-
that out? Because it'll be really good for people
What for to do what?
to learn to meditate. for
At your place.
beginners.
At your place. Yeah.
No, Village Yoga
Yeah.
Studios in Virginia and in
No,
Potomac.
you should put a note that you're teaching.
Okay.
What people, I don't mind whatever people are doing. I support what they're doing. I don't necessarily support what other people they're going to are doing. You with me?
Oh, yeah.
And because that gets really messy.
Yeah.
But I support whatever you're doing. I support what you're doing. So you can put some stuff out, and I'll put it out.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have your phone number? Because I'm going to talk to you about something sometime.
Yeah.
You have I have your email. You get my emails. Could you email me by
I'll
chance?
email you.
And then I'll get back to you about something. It's not terribly important. Okay. Thanks. I'm thinking about starting a training program for coaches. Okay.
Oh, good.
And I think I would like you to be involved in that. Okay. 'Cause I actually need some real coaches. But I'm thinking about starting a program for coaches because psychology is becoming just symptom oriented, and a lot of coaches are doing therapy nowadays. You with me? And to have a course on existentialism, what this is, existential psychotherapy or existential coaching, I'd like to do that.
Fabulous.
So I might have.
And I am working on something called culture coaching right now.
Somewhat like on the importance Great, thank you. Some soldiers I know, maybe Ellen Horvig, my wife, and Tom Ferguson, wait, and you can ask. Work it out, but there's not too much work for anyone. I want a minimum amount of work. It should be
I can even find information on how to record